everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Bridge. We have a returning guest with us today. John, welcome to the show again. Fantastic.
Well, thanks for having me back.
That's all right, man. I mean, it looks like you're in that cabin from The Thing where they're like freezing. So
it's pretty cold, but well, it's actually it's all right now. But if I took these clothes off, it'd be cold. Yeah.
Yes, we're not doing that sort of video this time, mate.
Yeah, not next time. Well, maybe people can leave it in the comments. Yeah. But it's great to see you back.
By popular demand.
Yeah. I know none of us are into football, but you know, this is the first time and probably last time you'll ever get a hat trick because it's your third time on the show. So
yeah,
congratulations.
Plenty of hat tricks in this existence so far. All good, man.
That's it. So I'm going to pass over to Casper, and he's going to sort of hopefully take us off from where we left last time.
Yeah, I'll have a go. All right, John. Nice to see you, mate.
What's up, man? You all right?
Thank you for joining.
No worries.
Top man, all of that business. So John, we've done two of these. So we've had part 1 and part 2. We took a slight diversion in part 2 and moved away from your life in your early 20s and whizzed around about how we're taking on the man and how you ain't kowtowing to anybody. And I love that one. So I encourage people to go back, particularly towards the end of that. If you want to hear the thing about John taking on the system in his BMX shop in London, then that's a good one. But I think that we did miss a whole section from sort of, I think it was a time in your early 20s where you headed off for a while to the States. So if you can just pick up on that bit, and then we'll talk about some of your later life once you actually started to work, and maybe also I'd like to very much touch on your own podcast, Union Tapes, because I love it and I think more people should see it and subscribe to it. So yeah, if you can pick up around your early 20s, that'd be great, mate.
All right, cool. So where I can't remember exactly where I was, but like I'm doing random pieces of artwork for like
exactly that, yeah, bits of t-shirt, well, whatever you
t-shirts
can pick up,
and stuff like that, yeah, like I can't even, I was just doing weird odd jobs here and there, like signing on basically, but still doing like a bit of wherever I could, like getting scraps of work together. With the this is so fuzzed out. So like the riding had completely like collapsed, like the riding scene had collapsed, and like my friends who, I don't know if we covered this already, my friends who I rode with all the time, they went to work in the Circus, Sean Scuff and Zach Shaw.
Yeah, I even remember when that happened. Yeah,
so they were my like main riding buddies. We used to like we would go venture everywhere, like, because it was so few people riding that we'd just drive wherever or go wherever, and we'd end up riding. And those guys got jobs in the Circus riding bikes, so I was like stranded completely, like oh, now I've not even got my 2 guys that I'm riding with. So it was actually Pants was around at this point in time,
right?
And it was me and him, and we would go. We obviously had other friends that would come into London to ride, and at one point it got so desolate that we had to go to West London. So we started riding in Harrow skate park. I didn't tell this story, no?
No,
okay. So we're venturing like from east to west, like, because there was a riding scene at Harrow skate park at this point. And that's where I met a bunch of guys that became sort of more lifelong friends, was going to the old 70s skate park at Harrow that had a BMX scene. And basically like guys from like that side of the suburbs would come in to ride Harrow. So like there was guys from Hertfordshire, like Watford area, St Albans, Hitchin, like, so that kind of created a thing that side. And then we was coming from this side, and there was already a scene from like guys from like more race BMX guys from like Pinner and a little bit further out of Harrow, and then Harrow itself also had a little scene. So we started emigrating out that way to ride there, and that's where the sort of scene started rebuilding. Remember you were telling me about like times where it's really quiet and things start getting creative again.
Yeah.
So that around that point in time that things started growing out of the soil of the barren soil that was BMX suddenly had a few little sprouts that started to come through, you know, and that probably was 93 or 92 and 93, I would say, I guess. And that was really good, finding that group of people, even though it was further away and we had to mission, train, tube ride, you know. It wasn't far to us because it was like, you know, it was not even an hour, but it seemed like,
yeah, it wasn't like going up to Skegness or going.
yeah, exactly. You know. It seemed far because we would go to Chingford or local spots, South Bank, or not that that's like really local, but like it was only.
Well, it's central at least. Had Chingford? Yeah. What had happened to Chingford by that point then?
Chingford had been cut down, and there was an old vert ramp there, but like.
There was nobody to ride with there anyway.
There was nobody to ride with there.
Yeah,
yeah. So basically, like that sort of riding was kind of fading away a little bit. Well, all riding had faded away. So because that was really hard, like vert riding and ramp riding, it just kind of fell by the wayside, and there was no one there. Like so, if I could ride that ramp a bit, but the other guys, like say. Like the newer guys who was riding, which have been like, there was a guy called Lemsip who lived in Dalston, and there was like a younger crew of kids, all from around sort of this area that I'm in now, which is like Dalston, Stoke Newington, Highbury. There was like a little crew of people, and those guys were new. They were probably 2 years younger than me, but they seemed like real young. And those guys, it was hard to get riding a vert ramp like, which is what Chingford was. So they started going to local skate parks in around here, like Camden. There was 2 parks and like little spots that you could like jump basically, which is easier for learning. Yeah. And that's kind of how that come about as well. So those guys eventually, when we met them, would come to Harrow with us. So we had like a crew of like East London and suburb guys going out to Harrow skate park to ride the concrete. And it really, it served its purpose really well at that point in time. But yeah, so Chingford just, in the end, got cut down. I didn't actually see it. It got cut down by some roller skate guys who were quite young, and the vert ramp was too big for them. So they chopped it down to like 5 feet, but it didn't work at all because the flat bottom was huge because it was a vert ramp. Yeah.
It'd be hard to pump and get any speed or anything.
Yeah, you couldn't get any speed. And then the transition was really, really slack. So it was it didn't last very long. I mean, those guys, they didn't know that was going to affect it like that. They probably just thought, we're the locals. Yeah. Can't use it. We'll make it in something we use, but it didn't work. So I don't know how long it lasted like that. But yeah, I didn't go back after that. But yeah.
Okay, so you went over to that side of London. But how far is that before you went off to the States? What was the, and also circus thing, just quickly on the circus thing, because even I knew you at the time. I was seeing you more regularly around that time. And it always seemed to me a bit odd that really good riders had to sort of, that was their only outlet or way of making money at least, and really doing it as some sort of job was to join a circus. I mean, it seems crazy, right? And was it just that, you know, your level or your interest, or what prevented you from doing something like that as well at the time?
I wasn't interested in like that stuff whatsoever. Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah. I mean, those guys. Yeah, I didn't care about that. That was like, that didn't come into my head that like,
it wasn't even an option. No, fine.
No, it was like, that's not, I didn't, that was
completely. You're not in the whole thing for that. And you're not some
sort of. I was not interested. No, you're just not interested. You're just like, And like, I'd see those guys, they'd come, the circus would travel and do dates in London. So then I'd go and see those guys. But it was quite a lot of big, like people at that point in time in the late 80s, really, it started coming in that guys would go to Europe and they'd ride the circus and they'd earn a lot of money and they'd earn good money. Yeah. And they'd come back and then they'd have a load of money for like a certain period of year and then they'd go back. It was like seasonal. But these guys were in the UK. But I mean, later they went to Europe to do it as well. And it wasn't so seasonal, you know, like they did have time out, but it was short. And they had to like drive a quarter pipe and like a kick turn ramp around with them, they had to buy vans, and like there's quite a lot to it.
Yeah, it's
But
involved. Yeah,
work for them. I mean, if they wanted to do it, and their riding did like keep progressing, but it removes you from the scene, and
the scene. Yeah,
and the scene is what I really like about it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the shit, you know, the bullshit like, that goes with it, and all the like the culture of it is the thing that I really liked. And I didn't care about going to ride for the circus. But so one of the guys I interviewed on the podcast, he did however many years in the circus, came back and bought a house with the money that he earned for the circus. You know, I'm going back like to
when you could buy houses
mid-90s or whatever. But he went to the bank with a carrier bag of cash to pay for the house. So like, it's pretty. There's some good stories surrounding it. Yeah,
I do like the fact that if they bothered to ask him, which they didn't do as much then, but they do obviously now, it would have just been, how'd you get that? Well, I've been in the circus.
You got no proof of anything, which is good. No. That's how it should be. Like,
of course.
But so they removed themselves from it, and they obviously came back like many years later. But that was not.
Did any of those guys end up going to the States as well?
Yeah, well, Zach. Yeah, probably both of them. I don't know about Sean, but Zach. Or you just talking about the two that I knew, or other guys? Yeah,
because I remember Zach, because obviously I knew him to some degree as well, and I seem to remember that he actually went to the States, and whatever you call doing well or succeeding or whatever. Yeah,
he rode for a living for a good few years. Like he was one of the top Burt guys, which after the circus he came back, and then like got back into the swing of things, and then he got sponsored and stuff, and then it was all and then he had a job within the industry, and then he went on to do like big things within the BMX world. He was GT team manager or whatever, and he did like he that's how he earned his living for a good while, like was riding vert shows. So I mean you can come back and get into it, like
of course. Was that about the time that so after this sort of Harrow thing, and you were doing bits and bobs and signing on a bit and whatever, was the next major? And by the way, hello to Andrew, or as we just referred to him as Pants, because that was his nickname. But he's a mate of all of ours. And hello, But what happened in terms of you getting across the States and that sort of next chapter in your life, and then coming back? I'd like to get through that, because I want to talk about the shop if you want to, but I'm really keen to talk about the tapes as well.
Cool, man. Right, so this is all interlocked, obviously. So in the 80s, when all my friends, or not like immediate friends, but like the people that I really looked up to, and I was friends with them, but not like close friends at that point. It was like go to America and fucking live the BMX dream. That was the thing that everyone did. Everyone seemed to come back and be really good as well. Like I went to America for 2 weeks, and now I'm back and I'm better than all of you guys. It was really weird. I suppose that's just an age thing. So I'd seen that throughout, and then it died off a bit, but people still did it. And then we've been going to West London and Harrow and stuff. So I met like these, like Paul Roberts, like this race guy who was really, like he still is. He's still really a BMX guy, and he was into like racing and jumping and stuff. And he would go to America like for a winter and come back. So that was one of the things of that group, that age group of riders would sort of basically migrate to the US for the winter and then come back like when
nice one.
February or March, when winter was kind of fading out a bit. So because I started hanging out with those guys, one of those guys moved permanently to the US and started racing. Neil Wood, he became a top US BMX racer over there. So then like those guys that I knew that were like immediate friends, they started going to stay with him. Like, so then they had.
What was that? Was that West Coast then?
California, where you could ride all year round. Like, So they had a connection, and this guy obviously his life is now in the US in Southern California, and he knows everyone there is to know that you'd want to know out there, and even people you wouldn't want to know. But like, but it was 2 steps away, So,
it's that whole thing of 6 degrees of separation, and suddenly there's only 2 degrees.
So close, It became so close that now it was like I could actually do this. So after like I don't even know how I saved some money to go. I can't even remember what, I think I'd just been saving forever, like for 2 or 3 years or something. And like the time had come, was like, I think I've got enough money to go. So we, me and this guy Fids, who you probably remember, we was like, right, I'm writing back and forward to Neil Wood, the guy who's racing for like the big companies out there and doing real well. He's living with a bunch of like American guys. The guy from S&M Bicycles, which is like one of the bigger core brands at the minute, and has been for years and years, like decades. And there's like a BMX house there. So I'm going back and forward, back and forward. Our friend Paul Roberts, he went before us, and there was like somebody else went as well. So we're like, now we're going to meet those guys in SoCal. I've never been on a plane before. I was shit scared of flying, like completely like terrified, you know. The guy went with Fids, he didn't really care, he was cool about it. Like, so we saved the money, booked the flights. I think it was 270 quid it was return.
Yeah, big money at the time.
Yeah, for a flight to California.
Yeah, for a flight you didn't want to take. Yeah,
well, I had to do it. It was like,
yeah,
this is my destiny. I have to go to. I thought I was going to go to California and then never come back. Like I was like, oh, yeah, that's going to be me. Like I'm never going to come back. So we sorted it all out. Yeah, we're arriving at this date. Coming in. I don't even know what happened. We arrived in LAX. I have no idea how we got to. Must have got a taxi or something. I have no idea. That seems outrageous for us to have got a taxi. Maybe we got a bus because we've definitely on a budget. Like, but I can't remember how we got to Huntington Beach. We got to Huntington Beach, got to the house, met the dudes, was like, fucking, we are in America. This is a different planet. Like, it was completely like mind blowing. Like,
yeah, I was there in '89 as well, and I just remember how, even though I'd seen all those films and I thought I knew it, and I thought it was exactly the same as just really a hot England with different accents and bigger, it was still totally different from what I'd expected, you know.
But what part did you go to?
I was Huntington Beach, all around that area.
Okay.
As well. Yeah.
So yeah, we basically, that was it. Like, we'd fulfilled our dream, and like got there thinking we were big shit, you know, like big, like we're gonna fucking show these guys like what's going on, you know. So in that period of time, what we hadn't realized was like we was going riding with race guys and like at trails. So where we'd come from the UK, and it was a little bit behind all of it because we didn't really have much of a race scene to ride with other than these few guys that was from like Pinner and stuff. But they was also a little bit behind because they're in the UK. So
yeah,
in the UK, if you go ride dirt jump, it's one jump like that. You pedal out, you wang a trick, you land, like doesn't matter how you land, as long as you ride off. So we get to America and there's like jump, 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 and they're all like,
it's like a racing course but full of jumps.
Exactly. Yeah, all twisted turns, different like lengths and widths, and like completely like not something that we'd ever done. We didn't know how to do it. We were like, and to do anything, you had to like actually get through to the last jump, really. Like that was the thing that everyone's session. So yeah, we just spent days. Like I thought I was never going to be able to do it, and people that I always laughed at and was like, these race idiots, like really looked down upon, like stupidly being young, like these dicks, they can't do anything, you know. Suddenly they were just like, they were just whipping through all the lines, and me and Fids were just like, like eating shit on the first jump, like getting nowhere, maybe getting to the second one, like just useless, like completely useless. Didn't know how to do it, and there was like they were trying to help us. They were going, look, you know, just like, you know, when you're on a ramp, you just push into
pumping it, getting the flow, all of those.
We just could not figure it out. We were just pulling up as hard as we could, like, and then trying to hopefully do an encasing or jumping off, or just falling over, and it took forever. And and also the first like place we went to ride was at that point the longest line to get through. So it wasn't just like 3 jumps we had to get through. We had to get through like
30.
Yeah, like just a sea of them. And they, that was good. That was a good humbling experience. Like
what happened in terms of the bikes themselves? I mean, you didn't take your one from England over there.
Yeah. You just box it up. Yeah, you
Oh.
box it up,
Oh.
bike and a backpack. Back then, the bike was free. You could just put a bike on a plane. They wouldn't even charge you. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was good. Now I think you pretty much pay all the time, but back then it was good. You just threw it in the bike box, took it with you. Yeah, yeah, that was a good thing. Yeah, but yeah, it was a good experience. Didn't like California really. It was totally not what I was expecting. It was all like super spread out, and yeah, it just seemed weird. Like it wasn't like the UK where it's very much more communal, like here, I think. But yeah, it was good, man. We went to see a load of like hardcore shows and like amazing, like for music, it was so good.
Oh yeah, for that I thought you would love it. Yeah. Yeah, but as you say, everything is, and even downtown LA and whatever. Well, I seem to remember at the time it didn't really feel like there was particularly a centre.
There wasn't no
I sort of ended
downtown,
up in Hollywood, and then Hollywood was a massive letdown because it was just full of, I won't even go into it. It was just, if anybody's been there, they'll know what it's like. And when you're expecting it to be paved with gold, and you've maybe got Man's Chinese Theatre and a few things that are interesting. And if you went to the hills, you'd see some big houses. But beyond that, it was a real, I didn't want to be there.
There's nothing there.
Nothing there. Yeah.
That was it. I was like, people were saying, "Oh yeah, we're in downtown LA now."
Yeah.
I'm like, well, where is everyone?
Just some buildings and hardly any people.
Like, just like a load of closed buildings with nothing there. It was like weird. Probably not like that now, but back then that's what it was like. And I just, like you say, it didn't seem like there was any centre to it. Like where? No. Yeah.
I think there's a whole load of different centres and a whole load of different communities. And we turned off one of the freeways and ended up in Compton and down that side of it. And to be honest, okay, maybe it's obviously it can be dangerous and whatever, but actually it did seem to have like a feel. At least it had some vibe to it, some feeling. Whereas the other bits to me felt dead, or you were at the, Santa Monica or Huntington Beach and whatever, and you're at a beach. But again, it didn't feel, and I'm not blaming anyone there. Why should they be welcoming you? But it did feel like it would take a while to make any legitimate friendships there.
Yeah, it's definitely seemed like sort of empty. That could have just been my outlook on it, but it didn't appeal to me at all. So Fids, who I went with, he stayed there longer and he kept going back and forward. But I cut my trip short and came back after 6 weeks. And I was really glad to I was like, man, I realized when I was there that the stuff I really liked was the stuff at home.
Yeah.
I wasn't really so much into the California.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That, it's a bit of a Wizard of Oz thing, right? Of that thing of, you go away and you have all these adventures and you go and see things and do things that you think might be, your new path, so to speak. And isn't it great that in a way it reaffirmed the fact that you do like the people, the scene, and also we can't pretend that we're not socially conditioned living in the UK. I've been to parts of the States that did feel like they really gelled with me to some degree. Places I'd never expected I'd like. And I did look, I met nice people and I actually had a really nice time on the West Coast. I really liked it. But I didn't get a feeling of this place is for me. And I get the sense from you, John, that you just, even though you'd had those thoughts before, that this might be the next stage in your journey, you might never come home and all of those things, that you just didn't have that feeling that this is the place for me.
Yeah, no, and if you're riding BMX in the 80s, like California was like the ultimate like BMX heaven, like because it was where all the amazing photos were, all the amazing riders, every good place to ride, like all the skate parks and the jumps and like the tracks and like just everything. It was like, it was a superstardom, like it was the ultimate living BMX experience, but it wasn't for me. Yeah.
I also would say about that my feeling there, I think the reason I didn't have such a good time is, again, I went there with hardly any money. And it did feel to me like that part of America, and America generally can be like that. It was real sort of pay to play territory. If you had some money and you could just say, well, I will jump in that taxi, or I will do this, and I will hire that car, you could whiz around and go to all sorts of places and probably find some interesting adventures. But when you're trying to do that on a budget, I found America generally, but certainly the West Coast, was very hard to do on a budget.
Yeah, well, it was spread, and unless you're getting a bus places, which they weren't like a bus in London, which comes every.
It's not really set up for that, is it?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you've got to plan it out long term.
Yeah,
you've got to ride long ways, or you've got to hire a car, or yes, it's not you're not just dashing back and forward somewhere. Like,
did you meet any interesting people while you were?
Oh yeah, no, like I was going to say, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I met people that I still speak to now.
Yeah.
But it was just like it wasn't so much the people that I met that was in my immediate scene that I didn't like. It just wasn't the right. It just, all of it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, I preferred it here. I had really good friends here. We had a really good scene. We had like places to ride that we liked riding. But you just assumed that it was going to be better. That's what it was. The expectations were so high. And of course, like you think, well, I'm coming from the UK. Of course, it's not going to be as good as California.
Yeah,
it was. Like for me, it was better
for you. Yeah, for you. Yeah. I mean, I really liked Huntingdon Beach, and I did meet some really nice people when I managed to make a bit of an effort and get over those barriers, and also just because we're, the whole thing of being divided by a common language, just because we do speak English, it doesn't mean necessarily that we're the same culturally,
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
So then you came back, right? That's interesting. So you came back, and obviously you came back to a scene you'd worked hard on, with friends you'd worked hard to cultivate and places to go, and you'd created these new strands and groups. But what about money? I mean, you'd saved up that money, you'd been away, you're probably broke when you came back.
Yeah.
What did you do for those next sort of 10 years or so after that?
So when I came back, I had, like you say, I had nothing, and I think I came back in May possibly. So it was summer. So I don't know how, but I breezed through the summer, just rode a lot, I had a good time, really enjoyed myself. And then when winter was coming, I think maybe I came back and got back on benefits. And then when winter was coming, it was getting really difficult. Like they was, doing one of their clampdowns on benefit guys. Like it was one of them eras, right? And they just kept calling me into these and doing this and doing this. And I was like, fuck this. I can't take anymore. This is shit. Because I was like just not non-cooperative with them, and they just they was really like on my case. And I was young and should have been doing something really. So I was like, fuck it. One of my friends was a cycle courier. I know that's easy to get a job. All I need is a bike and some gear, and I can do that, and it'll pay me it'll get me through my short-term existence. Right? So I ended up doing some cycle courier work for about a year, which was crushingly bad, like super dangerous, like so dangerous. Not totally,
it's like being a World War II pilot or something.
Yeah. Like one day, every day I went out 1 week, I came off.
Yeah.
Every day, five in a week. I remember telling the controller, like, man, every day this week, like, and it was like from anything from cabs coming into your lane and just driving into you, and just that was the first one I had, and the dude was freaking out at me, and it was his fault. Like a woman, there's like a cut through of a single road between two. It's like it might be Theobald's Road and High Holborn, possibly. You can cut through, and there was a woman on the path. So I was on the road. They looked at me, and for some reason started panicking as I was riding up, and I was coming up behind her, and she stepped into the road. Then I got on the path to avoid her, and then she got back on the path, and then I got in the road. She got back in the road, and I hit her. It was like, and then she went mad at me, and I was like, it was weird. All kinds of weird scenarios. Hit her. Went down.
I think the universe was sending you a message, John.
And went down Oxford Street. Woman stepped out in the road. This is my first Oxford Street. Oh, right, you can't really ride down Oxford Street. So I'm riding down Oxford Street. Woman steps out in the road straight into me. I flip over. My bike, I was perfectly all right. I landed straight on top of her. There was nothing wrong with me. My bike flipped over and hit this dude's car. He gets out and he's going mad at me, like, and obviously, like, he's having a go at me from in the car. It was like a convertible car. He's going, "What are you doing my car, man? What are you doing my car?" And I was like, God, I was all sort of shaking. I was just like, "Fuck you!" Obviously, made him more mad. And then, like, so he gets out of the car, and there's a bunch of people gathered around by this point, and they sort of stopped him because he didn't know what happened. It happened behind him, and the bike flipped over. So yeah, it was all right in the end. But I mean, yeah, but it was just things like that. Like, and to be doing that every day, you need ridiculous amounts of money, and it was just like really risky, and it was dangerous.
Yeah, well, you literally are putting your life on the line, and also you're breathing in all sorts of chemicals and crap and stuff. So.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's still quite a good job when you're just breezing about and you're seeing
of course,
hanging out. Yeah. It's like quite. So yeah, there's
and you like bikes. I mean, you like being out. You like bikes. I know it's not a BMX, right? But I presume you didn't use a BMX for that.
I did a couple of times. I went on a BMX because I was going riding on a Friday night or something. I would take my BMX on a Friday night, and it'd be like it would
kill you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wipe you out. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's that next thing. So when was there a time coming up in this journey where you actually got a quote unquote, shop job, real job, whatever you want to call it?
No. So.
Oh, good.
So then from there, I can't. So like a couple of years later, there was a shop called Cyclone that opened. This is like so. The BMX scene is building and building. And then like my friend Stuart King, he's got this bike brand, and it's a good bike brand. He's a UK rider. He's got
what's the brand?
King Bike Co. He's got he doesn't do it anymore, but like at that point in time was like really, it was a real strong brand, and it was coming up like as a real good rider-owned brand. Like, and there's a guy in the US selling it for him, and it was all happening for him. He's really clever. He was one of the top riders at that point. And I went into this shop, which was just a bike shop that had a little bit of BMX stuff. And it was in Waltham Abbey, where my parents lived. And I was like, wow, they've got some parts, Stuart King's parts. My friends, like one of my riding buddies, like, and I was like, fuck, like, that's pretty fucking cool. I was just like talking to the guys, like, blah, 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 small talk, And then I just didn't, that was that. And I was like, oh, that was cool, blah, blah, went out. And then like, went back a while later, see what else they've got in, like probably a month or 6 weeks or whatever it was. They were quite friendly dudes, so like it was they would always like hang out with you,
Yeah, give you the time of day.
Yeah. Went back, they had a bit more stuff, and like all the other stuff they were selling was like mountain bike stuff, because that was in a boom as well.
Right.
That was in its main boom probably at that point.
Yeah.
So then like we went back, and then they had asked me some stuff like, oh, what about like, and then we got this sort of relationship going. Like, so I was their door to the BMX scene. So they would get the mags, and then like maybe I would have a picture in it, or they would see a video part of the VHS they'd have in. I was on it or something like that. It was something vague. I can't remember exactly. And they were like, fuck. Like, so they knew I was kind of like seriously into it. And it just built up this relationship of us, like, that shop, I obviously want them to do more BMX stuff, because it's close to me and it's kind of cool and it's novel. So I'm just trying to help them out. They're taking in like what I'm telling them, like, and doing it. And then I was like, well, maybe like see this advert with these bunny girls that your friend has drawn with some bad logos, or maybe you put like a picture of someone actually like doing something on a bike and like change the logos. And like, so then I start doing like ad direction for them, giving them, draw them a logo, try and put the good brands in, like give them more perspective and a bit more idea of what they're doing. So then the time rolls on, and he's like, look, you fancy working here for us? We ain't gonna be able to pay you much, but like we'll try and like continue it rolling on. So yeah, that's right. So I was signing on again. So he's like, I was like, fuck yeah, because I can just,
that was doing your nutting, mate.
Yeah, it was horrible again. And so then we did that, and then after that it started rolling quick. Like it really gained pace once I was in there. I was in there 5 days a week. So once I was in there all the time, things started really happening quick. And that shop turned into like one of the, well, it's probably for like specialist rider-owned brands, it was the biggest shops in the 90s selling them specific brands.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was huge, like double page spreads in the mags. Like everyone knew it was, always got the good stuff, had a good relationship with all the like core distros and stuff. And because they were all my friends from before, really.
Yeah. So
they had an in route, and it was really good. Yeah. And then we'd have like visiting pros from the US come hang out, and like it became a real good thing. And inevitably,
Just to check in, Gary, I know that we're always up against the time thing. Where are we at?
2 minutes 53 left.
Sean, we're going to have to do a part 4, mate.
well, that went really quick. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
So then, like,
well, actually, that's not a bad place to sort of stop. You're in the shop. You've helped to transform that. The whole bike thing is on another slightly on and up at that point, by the sound of it. And actually, you're sort of now signed off. You're in situ there, and you're probably creating a lot of new or fostering some of your current relationships, creating other ones, and whatever. I think that'll be a nice segue into the sort of final journey of your recent life.
Let me just that
of course,
that period of time is when the union stuff, which is what I still do, became more prominent. So we were doing ads in mags, we were making t-shirts and hats and getting things. They was like things were coming out. We'd done it before, but not to this degree. Now things were happening regularly. So yeah, that's where that started to become.
Oh, that's brilliant, because the name and what you were doing there under that sort of union brand then ended up with the podcast that you do now and everything else that we're building up to. So maybe we call the final one the Union Years then.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, because like I've done a lot of stuff with that since then. So yeah, that would be good. Yeah,
it'd be nice to go through all of that. All right, mate. Look, that was. I think you got. And sorry, I was rushing you a bit, but
no, it's all right. I need to be kept on track. Otherwise, I'll talk.
We need to collapse the timeline on it. So
yeah, cool, man. No problem.
All right, look, brilliant to see you. I think we're going to get cut off. So
we'll see you again.
Thank you for John. Yeah, cheers, man.
All right, thank you very much.
See you shortly.
See you later on. Thanks.